job search. We meet the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and you can find the schedule of topics at www.ukalumni.net. And I want to introduce our team. We always depend upon each other to get each and every session prepared and organized and presented. I am Diana Doggett. I'm an extension specialist at the UK School of Human Environmental Sciences, College of Agriculture. Caroline Francis is the Director of Alumni Career Services. Nicole Waite is the Employment Specialist with UK STEPS. We also want to shout out to Suzanne Smith and Sunny Saylor here at the Fayette County office, where we're meeting in person, as well as Queen Sullivan, Christy Kaufman, and Lindsay Cotto with the UK Alumni Association. So it's quite a team that puts all of this together. We want to remind you that Job Club is currently hosted in a hybrid format, and that means that we're in person here at the Fayette County Extension Office. If you're located anywhere in Central Kentucky, we invite you to come. We have an opportunity to network following our session, so we just invite you to come. We think it'll be worth your while to do that. We are presenting in Zoom webinar, and that provides a chat moderator online, and that's available. So please use that chat box for questions, for comments, and that we will have that moderator answering you. We also have Facebook Live. And again, that's view only. We do not have a chat moderator, but and no job lead newsletter, but we encourage you to share it Facebook Live, anywhere you can, because we really love to get our sessions out to everyone. We do want to remind you, everyone here that attends in person gets a free copy of our resource packet on their first time attending, but it's also available free online. So if you go to our website, www.ukalumni.net/job-club, you will find that resource packet, and it just contains a wealth of information for your job search. And there's a whole list of categories that we cover, everything from checklists to verb lists to informational interview tips. So we invite you to do that, because we feel like that'll be an additional, give you additional assistance. We do want to encourage you to join our LinkedIn, community LinkedIn site on LinkedIn, because that's where we're able to communicate in the interim of the 2 weeks. So if we have a job lead that's going to expire before we meet the next time, we will be offering that in our LinkedIn site. So we encourage you to definitely join us there on LinkedIn. Employers and recruiters are always welcome at Job Club, and we will provide a 1-minute opportunity, a spotlight for you to announce your job at the end of our session today. So if you're in person, we'll do that verbally here. And if you're online, just raise your hand and we'll give you that opportunity when the time comes. Watch your email today, because you will be getting a newsletter that will contain a lot of job leads that job businesses and HR departments have sent us. So we want you to be aware that newsletter. And if you are a first timer, I failed to say that at the beginning, but if you're here for the first time, is there anyone in our audience here for the first time? Very first time? Yes, we do. Like over half. We've really got a lot of good outreach today for first time. And that means that you will receive a short survey just to get you into our notification system today. And we will really appreciate it if you'll answer that, get it back to us. And then that gets you online to get that newsletter each and every time after our Jobs Club sessions. So be sure and do that. And we will thank you in advance. We want to remind you that some attendees are conducting a confidential job search, so let's please be respectful of that privacy and of the job search of others. And again, our Job Club reminder emails are just incredibly important, and they will also give you information about upcoming events and opportunities. And finally, probably our biggest question and source of information we like to share is that, yes, we do record our sessions, and yes, they are available for you to view at any time. In fact, we have multiple presentations on various subjects. So you can find those again at that website, www.ukalumni.net/job club. And again, that it's a wonderful source. If you're wanting information on interviewing versus resumes versus networking, it's all there, and there's all different perspectives for you to preview. All right, and so I've already welcomed first-time visitors, but again, we'll give you a second welcome and just tell you in advance that you will be in our notification system once you fill out that short survey. Success stories. So in the audience today, we want you to think about, as well as virtually, any success that you have achieved since we last met, or if it's your first time, any success that you've experienced, period. That doesn't mean that we're going to hold you to, did you get a job? That's not necessarily all the success stories that we like to bring forth. We want to acknowledge success as anything in the steps and in the journey of a job search. So did anyone have an interview? Did you revise your resume? Did you reach out to someone in the past that could expand or, help your network? Is there anyone that has had any acknowledgement of using a job source that's been beneficial to them? And I think we have some online.
Yes. Someone online has a second interview today and has been reached out to by recruiters. And another person has a job interview tomorrow morning and has caught up with a past network contact and had a job interview last week.
Wow. Great. That is awesome. Anyone in our audience want to share? No? All right. Well, just keep in mind that, the journey is to a job, and defining that job that's meaningful and the perfect one for you is made up of a lot of steps, and each of those we consider a success. So we rejoice with those that have shared today. Well, we're excited about today's presentation. As I was sharing with our guest speaker earlier, this is sort of, I'm not sure we've done this before. We obviously have mentioned federal employment, and we brought in some state people probably, but nothing that's just been real specific about that federal resume. So we are just really, really pleased that Kenneth Wocher is sharing with us today. He has a wealth of information, so much so that he's not sure that he can even get it all in. And we've told him, just give it to us, because we appreciate so much his willingness to share. So Kenneth, we're going to let you take it from there and tell us what you need to do to get that federal resume to the top of the pile.
Okay, just to give it a little bit of background on myself, I spent 20 years in the Army, and I retired in 2001. At that time, within a year, I got a job at the state where I was a veterans representative. And that's really what led me to these federal jobs. Basically, federal government agencies used to come to me, and they like to get disabled veterans. And so they would contact me. There's two reasons why. One, a disabled veteran counts as two people when they're being hired. It's a weighted system. So anybody with a disability and their veteran counts, like for the HR person that hires them, counts for two people. And the other reason is because then they qualify for direct hiring a lot of times. And in direct hiring, you don't really have to go through the USA jobs system. You can be hired directly by the hiring manager. So it's pretty nice. We used to set up interviews and people would come in, and therefore I got to learn all these different federal agencies by working with them. And then also I learned how to maneuver through the system. So hopefully that information is going to help you out today. That's where we start out. Let's go ahead and get started because we got a lot of stuff to cover real quick. Let's see. Can I get the next slide? Oh, here we go. We're good. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Took me a second. Sorry about that. In order to do a federal job search, you're going to need two websites. The first one up there is the opm.gov. OPM stands for Office of Personnel Management. Now, they control all HR functions of the federal government. Okay, they are the ones that make up the job descriptions that you will find on the USA Jobs. USA Jobs is more like the Indeed.com for the federal government, where they post the jobs and you can apply for them. OPM is they set the rules, they create the descriptions, and also they make any kind of judgment calls that need to be made. Now, the reason you need opm.gov, they create the job description, and out of that job description, any agency using USA Jobs is required to use 85% of it. Okay, there's still 15% that they may not use because it might not involve that direct job. However, if you're in a statistical tie with someone else while you're applying for a job, which we'll explain later on, okay, how they rate that. And if you're in a statistical tie, if you have the skills that are added on in that 15%, which might be one or two in your resume, it may put you over the top. So it's important that you have that. Now, USA Jobs, we're going to be covering in detail later on. So all I'm going to say about it is it's the search engine for the federal government. Not all federal agencies use USA Jobs. If you don't find a federal agency that you want to work for that's on there, go ahead and Google that federal agency. They probably have their own site, but they still have to follow the same rules. Remember that. Okay. Okay. Now, the most popular searches on USA Jobs are one location. Okay. If you put in a city, it will give you within a 25-mile radius of that city. So if you put in Lexington, you have 25-mile radius. If you notice, if you put in Frankfurt, you'll have a completely different list. So make sure you check around if you're in an area like that that may cover several different areas. Up in our area, we're close to Cincinnati. That's a big one, and it covers most of northern Kentucky. However, if you want to apply for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, you have to put in Dayton, Ohio. You can also look by position titles. Say you're an accountant or a lawyer, you can look up those job titles, and they will you will have a list of jobs that have those job titles. Now, what you're going to find out is federal jobs sometimes have weird titles to them. So you may want to use a particular unique skill rather than that, something that fits that skill. Like for social worker, often I'll just use social on there because it's got different titles in there that have social in it, and it will help you find it. Or you can look up Oracle if you're a IT person, you do databases or whatever, or you use that language or a particular language you can use, and it will pull up all the jobs that have that particular skill in them. You can look by federal agency. Say you want to work for the VA hospital. You can do that. You can put in VA, VA health system, and it'll show you all the jobs that are in the VA health system. FAA, Federal Aviation Administration. Okay. They will have that, or any other CDC, EPA, any of those you can put in and do a search. Eligibility classification. Now that's one thing that I thought I'd touch bases on, because a lot of people make this mistake. You have to make sure that the jobs that you're applying for, that you're actually eligible for. And they have little icons on there. The one main everybody pretty much falls under is the general public. As long as you're a US citizen or have some kind of allegiance to the United States, you fall under general public. Now, there are other categories like disabled. If you're a disabled person, actually it's a benefit to be disabled to apply for a job. They have something called a Schedule A letter. It's a little 2-paragraph letter that states that you have a qualifying disability. That's all it states. You have a qualifying disability, and it could be signed by a doctor, a therapist, or a social worker. So when you do that, you automatically are worth 1.5 to them. So they have to interview you before they interview anybody that's from the general public. Okay. Also, you're more available for direct hiring. Like I said before, direct hiring, you can interview directly with the hiring authority if they call you up, if they have your resume. But you have to meet all the qualifications of that job. The next one, I don't recommend that much. It's pay. So if you're looking for a job, making a lot of money, you're a senior executive or something, CEO or whatever, you can put in the pay, a high level of pay, and it'll show you only jobs with that pay. Or you could put yourself in as a senior executive and it'll filter out some of the other stuff that it would normally send you. Okay. Or show you on the system. Work schedule is another one. This one's important because, especially for the IRS, they have positions there that are called seasonal. The beauty about these positions is that you work for 4 or 5 months and you get laid off for 3 months, and you're called back for 4 or 5 months and you're laid off again. Well, what they don't tell you is you receive unemployment when you're off of work there. And because you're working with a federal system, you don't have to look for a job unless you exceed like 3 months. Excuse me. So in other words, it's like having a paid vacation. You work, 5 months, you're off 3 months. So if you like a job where you have a lot of break time, a lot of vacation time, that could be a good one. A lot of older people like this. Okay. Oop. Can I go back one? Sorry. Yeah. Screwed up. Can somebody help me out there and go back a couple of them? One more. There you go. Oh, one more. Oh, there. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I got FFS, fat finger syndrome. Sorry. Okay. Here's the thing about this is the meat and potatoes about the federal resume. Okay. The one thing in common that a federal resume has with a business type resume that you'll normally submit is it's in reverse chronological order. At least most of the employers want to see you list your most current job and go backward in time from there. And so does the federal government. Now, what's different on there? The rule of thumb is more is better, more than 2 pages. The average federal resume is 4 to 5 pages long. Now that sounds like a real chore, but you'll find out that they have certain things they want you to put in your resume that's going to beef it up, and it'll be easy to get that 4 to 5 pages. Warning though, I've seen lately on some jobs, make sure you read all the instructions, because some say they will not accept a resume over 9 pages long. So if you do that, make sure you read through there before you submit it, or else they love to rule you out. Any rule that you break, they automatically rule you out. So be careful. The federal government has people that called qualification specialists. Okay, and their job is they don't use a screening service for the federal government. what they do is they have people look through your resume. And what they do is look for the skills that are located in the job description, especially in 3 areas we're going to cover in just a little bit. They're going to find these skills that are listed in there, and they have a checklist. Unless you have all those skills, you are ruled out. So the big trick is make sure that you list all the jobs from the duty description and the USA jobs and OPM. Okay, that's pretty important. Okay, and on the federal government, they want you to have on your resume average hours you work per week. So if you work 40 hours per week, put 40. If you work 50 or 60 and it's true, go ahead and put that in there too. That's going to help you in the long run. Now, I have on there in days work, that's only if you have a weird schedule, like a longshoreman where you work 30 days on, 30 days off, something like that. Then they want to know that information. But otherwise, just give them the average hours, and you'll see on our example later on how that's done. Don't clutter up your resume with non-relevant information. What I mean by that is if you have a job, maybe a survival job or some job that has nothing to do with the job you're applying for and doesn't use any of the skills they're asking for, then you still put it on your resume, but only give it 1 or 2 lines. Don't spend a whole lot of time on it, okay? Because they want to see that you had a smooth work history, but they don't want you to go into a lot of depth in there because that wastes their time. They have to go through there and search that. Now, you have to justify soft skills with related examples. What do I mean by a soft skill? A soft skill is something that really can't be measured. It's like excellent communication. You know, how can you measure that? So they want examples of how you communicated, or your leadership or customer service skills. Anything like that, you have to show that you did something to validate that. Otherwise, in their book, you didn't do it. So make sure that you put examples on there. So you can't just put summary of skills, excellent communications. You know, they're not going to accept that. They need to see some kind of evidence in your resume. Okay. And the resume is the only document they use to qualify that you are eligible for the job. Now, the qualification specialists, they have 2 different jobs. The one is to determine if you're qualified for the job. The second one is determine at what pay grade you qualify for the job. So it's important that you include the skills from each pay level, that as many as you can. Now, if you don't have them all, you know, you can stop at a certain point, but you'll only be able to compete for the lower grades. Now, include your results, achievements, and accomplishments. They really want you to do this. In fact, you'll see on the example later on in the resume that first you list out the skills that they want you to do and how you used them in your job. And then the last portion, they want you to tell a story using the STAR technique. And the STAR technique is usually used in interviews. It stands for situation, task, action taken, and results. Okay. Don't worry about committing that to memory because I have it on the next slide. And also it's in the notes that I'm sending you too. Okay. But make sure they want to see a story on how you use that. Again, they always want to see proofs in the pudding. They want an example of how you did that. And if you do that, you're going to be successful on this. Let's see, minimize the use of technical jargon or specialized terminology. This is really important because I've had clients before that used acronyms for places that they worked in the federal government or something, thinking they were going to impress the people. The main thing you have to remember is the qualification specialist is not in your profession. So they're not in the profession that they're looking at. They're an HR person. So they may not know the terminology there. And if they don't know, they ignore it. So it could rule you out from a job. So if there's anything that you may have that's questionable, some kind of technical language or specialized terms that you use, spell it out. Okay. You have plenty of room to do that because they want more. Let's see. References should include people familiar with your work as pertaining to the position. You'll see on there, they want you to list your supervisor and on each job. Now, some people didn't have a good, a good relationship with their supervisor. They want them, if you could list somebody else that is familiar with your job, preferably somebody that's highest up on the chain of command. Okay. Oh, can I get you to go back again? Sorry. Got that problem with the fat fingers. Okay. On a federal resume, they want you on the companies you list in the schools you went to, they want you to list your full address. The reason for this is because they're going to have a security background check and they're going to send people out to those areas possibly. So they need to have that information right at hand. So that's friendly for them, and it's another reason to exclude you if you don't do it. They can disqualify you for not doing that. On your schooling, they want your GPA, and they also want the hours or quarter or semester hours that you put in at that school if you didn't get a degree. If you got a degree, all you have to do is list the degree. But if you didn't complete a degree, you need to put in how many semester or quarter hours you put in at that school. Now, many applications are going to require questionnaires. Now, it's located in two different areas that we're going to go over when I walk you through the USA job site. So make sure that you find the link for that questionnaire, and what it'll say is you can preview the questions on the questionnaire. Okay. There are two different types of questionnaires. The newer ones, all they do is restate the things that are in the qualifications area, which is easy because it'll say you need a year of this, and you've already put those things in your resume, so you can just put yes on there. Those are real easy. Now, the old style actually lists qualifications that you need for that job. Example, one time I was doing one and it said, rate your budgeting skills, and they gave me all these different choices, and I was going to rate myself low because I had done budgeting before, but never to the capacity of the job that I was applying for. So, but then luckily I was working with some lady from the Department of Energy, a qualifications specialist, and she said, Ken, why are you rating yourself low on this? And I said, well, because I don't really have the experience that they require for this position. And she said, did they ask that? And I said, no. She goes, don't read into the question. And if there is a question on something, always side in your favor. Okay, so make sure you remember that on there. It's important. And if they are asking questions like that, say like budgeting, I add it to my list of keywords that I need to have in my resume. You have to have that somewhere. So if you see it's the old style, make sure you copy down those keywords if they haven't already mentioned them in one of the other skills that they asked for. Now, on the accomplishments, we already talked about this, the STAR technique. Here's where it's written out: situation, task, action taken, and results. Okay. Mostly on the interview, you use that to keep it short and sweet without rambling on. Okay. On here, it's meant to tell a story on what you did on the job to prove that you use those skills on your job. Now, the next one is make sure to make a copy, either print one out, hard copy, or save it in a folder on your computer, or save it somewhere on your computer under a name where you can recognize it. There's two reasons you do that. One, because you're going to interview sometime for this job, and it's good to have that job description available to study for the interview. Second thing is in the how to apply section, there's a gray box at the bottom. And the gray box will state who the point of contact is for that job. Any questions you have or whatever, that is the point of contact for that job. It may have telephone number, it may have email address, it could have a website, all those things. So whatever, use them. The only thing I say on that is be careful, because these are modern times and people do not like to be contacted very much. So only do it on an emergency basis. Okay. And the second reason to use it is, well, say the first reason is maybe they didn't receive your resume, but you sent it twice. Then you need to you need to call them up or email them, ask them if they received your resume. Okay. The second area is you can use it as an alibi. They say you are not qualified for the job, but you think according to your resume that you submitted that you were qualified for the job. If you call them up and you're really nice to them, they will actually change their rating if you can show them in your resume where you have that. They may have missed it. They're human. They make mistakes sometimes, but be very nice when you do that and it'll help you. Okay. If you contact them more than twice, they're probably going to put you on the stalker list and warn other qualification specialists not to hire you. So it can be devastating for your federal job search if you do that. So no more than twice ever. And twice is only in emergency situations. Okay, there's 3 areas to locate keywords and phrases in your USA Jobs job listing. The first one is the qualifications section. Okay, this one could be tricky because they all start off the same way. They say you need a year of experience in the grade previous to the one you're applying for. Now, if you never worked for the federal government, you can just line out that whole statement. It means nothing. But what you want to do is when they start describing what special experience is, then you need to copy it down. You make a list of those items because that's what needs to be on your resume. Okay. And we're going to show you when I show you example in just a few minutes. The second section is how you will be qualification section. Let me go back. Remember too that for each pay grade, there are different skills involved. So they may add 1 or 2 skills for each pay grade. So make sure that you go through there and check them against the first list that you have. And if there's any new ones, go ahead and add those to the skills that you need to have in your resume. And some of them have 4 different levels. The one I'm going to show you today does. So make sure that you've covered them all if you want to get paid the higher pay. If you only want to go for the lower pay, that's fine. But everybody I know wants to go for the highest pay they possibly can go for. Okay, how you will be evaluated section. The how you will be evaluated section, the main thing you want to look for there is something called KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities. They're going to list them out. This used to be the bread and butter of the federal jobs resume, but now it's become a list of soft skills that they want to see in your resume. And what they'll do is list stuff like confidentiality, customer service, leadership, things like that. Now, what I do is I put that in as a keyword to have in my resume somewhere, but it also should be a theme of some area that you cover in there. Remember, you have to show examples of that stuff. So make sure that you show example where you showed that you use this skill. Otherwise, you can be, disqualified. The last one is that assessment questionnaire. We already talked about that. If they have a skill in there that's not covered in your list already, go ahead and add it. Okay. There we go. Now, what does USA Jobs do? Once you hit the apply for a job, it sends you to create your resume. You can either create it or paste your resume in there. And once you create a resume, it makes a little checkbox by that resume. You can have as many resumes as you want to on that file. So you have your own account now. On your account, you can have 20 resumes if you want, but make sure you rename it each time. What I usually suggest is people don't start from scratch each time. They use their former resume and then make changes to it and rename it. So if they go for several different jobs, they can use that base resume or the one that's closest and then make the changes and go on. Now, so you'll have all those different resumes. It'll make it real easy. And they're going to ask you before you apply, which resume do you want? Then upload supporting documents. You can scan in documents. They're going to ask you for certain documents. If you're a veteran, they're going to ask you for your discharge paperwork. They're going to ask you for 10-point preference if you have a disability and you're a veteran. If you're a former federal worker, they have something called an SF-50, which is basically a evaluation form for the federal government. So make sure that you include those in there if you worked for the federal government or the military. They'll have a list of what documents you will need to apply for that job. So just go through that checklist. And like I said, if you're not military, cross out the military stuff. If you're not federal, cross out the federal stuff. Okay. The next one is save job searches. I call this more of Job Scout. In fact, I sent out a handout for Job Scout. It's a cheat sheet on how to create a Job Scout. And what that means is you can put in a city and a job title. And if any jobs hit that title or a skill or whatever, they will immediately email that to your email address. So you don't have to keep on searching through the USA jobs. So that can help out. Now you can have up to 5 of these searches. So once you get 5, you have to take one off to add another one. Okay. Now, manage applications. Once you actually apply for the job, it's going to give you a little status area to manage your applications. It'll say received. Once you've sent it in, within a couple minutes, it'll show received. Then the next thing will be reviewed. And after it's reviewed, then they're going to say if you qualified or didn't qualify. Now, there are certain areas that sometimes you qualify, but you're not selected to interview. The reason for that is you may be bumped by somebody in a higher classification. Remember, I said that disability is 1.5, a disabled veteran is 2, federal government is 2.5. So if they're in any of those levels, they automatically bump you. They have to be interviewed before you. So it's possible that they have enough of those where you don't get interviewed. But it means that you still qualify for the job. So you're good if that job should pop up again, which it usually does, and you'll be able to get it. So hang in there. Okay. Here are some of those documents that I talked about earlier. DD 214 is a military discharge. SF-15 is the 10-point preference. All SF stands for, DD is Department of Defense, and SF is Standard Form 15. Okay, Standard Form 50 is for the federal evaluation. Now, here's something you might need. Other attached documents, transcripts from your schools. You may have licenses or certifications. You may have a cover letter that you may want to include. The one thing you have to know about the cover letter is it's not evaluated for qualifications. So you can't qualify for that job because of your cover letter, only your resume. So don't put anything critical on your cover letter and expect, if it's not on your resume, and expect it to be evaluated. The only people that look at that are the people that interview you. Okay. Okay, here's how you do it. On there, once you've created your resume and attached your documents and everything, they're going to ask you to select your appropriate resume. You may have more than one, and select the attach supporting documents. So you may have documents from several different several different jobs you applied for, so there may be some that you don't use. So just check off the ones that you need for that list that they have on their required documents. Now, review the entire package, and then they're going to ask you to answer some demographic questions. Those will be optional. Now, what they want to do, or then as soon as you answer those, they're going to send you directly to the questionnaire. Remember, earlier you had the chance to look through your questionnaire and review the answers, or review the questions, so you'll know what the answers pretty much will be before you even do this. But they automatically do this as you're applying, and then you do the questionnaire, and then as soon as you do, you hit submit, and they will that will send your job off to the people that are evaluating whatever area is evaluating. Okay. Now you need to check your USA Jobs account and make sure that the status has changed to received once you send it off. Yeah, like I said, within a few minutes. And then you may get an email, you may not, according to the agency. And then of course, follow up if they don't receive it. Now the review process will start once the job closes. Okay, that's pretty much true, except for jobs that have like a 1 year time frame or a long time frame. On a long time frame, that means that the federal government has to hire a lot of jobs in there, and they'll probably be interviewing every 3 to 4 weeks. So don't get upset if you think you have to wait a year for a job. You don't. Okay. Then they will review and verify the qualifications of the job. The agency will look over them and decide who's the best qualified candidate. Okay, who usually best qualified means you're going to be called in for an interview. Usually they have at least 5 best qualified candidates. I know it's silly, best qualified, and they have 5, but that's the way the federal government rolls. Agency will place candidates in hiring quality categories based on individual qualifications. Okay. Then the names of the highest category will be sent to the hiring official. They're going to set up the interviews, and then you will be interviewed, and then they will notify the candidate that got accepted and tell the people that didn't get accepted. So that's pretty much how it goes there. Okay. Then the last thing they do, the background check. So they'll send somebody out. Some federal jobs, you can actually start the job before your background check has been finished. It's according, to how in depth they have to do the background check. Okay. But if they find something on the background check, they can walk you off the job if they did hire you in advance. That's happened to one of my clients before. Not nice. And then we have the questions time, but we could go to the second half, and we'll do the questions at the very end. How's that sound? Okay, let me go ahead and switch over to the USA Jobs portion. And that is here. And try that one more time. For some reason I got kicked off my USA Jobs. Hold on a second. I'll put myself on there real quick. Let me copy this. Sorry for the hold up. Can everybody see this? Are we good?
No, we can't see it.
Okay. Now, we're going to walk through a USA Jobs job description. Okay, they have a summary, and it lets you know in the summary it's available for direct hiring. That means it's sort of a critical job they need to fill. And if you have a disability or disabled veteran or anybody that's highly qualified and get recommended for direct hiring, you can apply directly to the hiring manager, and without having to wait as much time, they can go ahead and interview you. So that's important.
We cannot see, it's not showing. We cannot see.
You can't see the USA Jobs? Yeah, great. Hold on. Let me try. Okay. Let me try it again. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Okay, again, it says direct hire up at the top. I already explained that. Now let's look at this one. We look at the opening and closing dates first. Notice the opening and closing dates are about a year apart. That means they're going to be hiring every 3 to 4 weeks. So you won't have to wait a seriously long time. Now the salary range on this one goes anywhere from $69,000 to $183,500, which is quite a bit. And it covers pay scale 11, GS 11 through GS 15. That's the government pay scales, basically. Now, where is it located? The job's located. Now, if we hit this show more locations, it's going to show us more, and they're in alphabetical by state. So we have Lexington, Kentucky, and Paducah, Kentucky, if they're in Kentucky. Or you could maybe live near another city, okay? But check and make sure the city that you live near is there, because this is not a remote job. Now, one thing I want you to know that remote job area, there's a lot of jobs on the federal government system that are remote. And the way to look for that is in the search area, just write in remote as your keyword, and then put what city you live in, and it'll bring up everything. Well, remote can go anywhere. So, but you want to make sure that you put in the city that you live close to, because even though you are remote, most of the time they require you to come into the office at least twice during the pay period. Okay. Now on this one, telework is eligible, you see, and you might have occasional travel, most likely for training or something. Okay. If you have to relocate, they will pay for your relocation though. Okay. And it's full-time, competitive, which is good. Now this is good to know, this job family series, 1102 contracting. What you need to do is copy down the 1102 and then put in the job title for this job. I think it's procurement specialist, 1102 procurement specialist. And then you put that in the OPM on that first page, has a search block in the very top right-hand corner. So just put in 1102, procurement specialist, and it'll take you directly to that job description. You have to look for additional skills possibly. Okay, and let's see, what else are we going to need out of here? That looks about it. That's all we're going to look at there right now. Now, here's an important one. This little icon, the public. Now, make sure that you qualify for this job before you put into it. I've seen so many people do all the resume for a job, and then they find out, oh, it's only available to federal people or people in the same agency. So don't let that happen to you. Make sure that you use public, okay, or whatever category you're in. Now, this duties area just describe your daily duties, okay? They're for your use. The requirements are pretty much general requirements. You must be a citizen. You must be registered for the draft if you're a male born after 12/31/1959. You must be legal to work in the United States, things like that. Okay. Here's the main one. This qualifications section says for the GS 13 level, the employee Federal Acquisition Institute training app, blah, 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 or I'm sorry, or defense acquisition workforce improvement requirements applicable to the duty position. Okay, well, you can skip over that. Okay, the specialized experience requirements, that's what you're going to be looking for. Okay, and if you notice, it says it on here, GS 11, and it'll say you must have at least 1 year GS 9. Go ahead and line that out. Okay. Where you start is specialized experience must demonstrate the following. And then you copy from there. Applying, acquisition, contract, and procurement regulations to prepare solicitations containing appropriate provisions, clauses, terms, and reasonable blah, blah, blah. You know the deal. But once that line is done, if there's another one like here, let's see, after each one of these semicolons is one of the skills that you need. Coordinating contract financial assistant actions. That's with every job. Not all of them are this complicated. Or you can have a PhD and automatically qualify. But most of the people don't have a PhD in these fields that they're looking for. So most people are going to fall under the experience. Now, let's see. Let me see if I could show you this real quick. I already made a list out of, here's my checklist I made out for these. Okay. GS 11, and I did the same thing with GS 12. I lined out the area that said I need a year GS 11 experience. You still need a year experience, but doing these items, they're listed in here. And the same thing. Now, in this job, we only have to worry about 11 and 12 because afterwards you have to have specialized training from the federal government. Unless you're a federal worker, you probably don't have that experience. So we would do that. Okay. Now, so we'll go on. We'll skip the other levels, even though I listed them out because I figured it's good to put them on your resume, even though you can't qualify because of the training, because it'll save you time later on, because you probably remember more about what you did now than you would after you've worked for the federal government for a year or two. Okay. Now, let's see. Let's go on down. Those are the additional skills. Next area we're going to worry about is how you will be evaluated area. Remember I said, what are we going to be looking for? The knowledge, skills, and abilities. What I usually do is scroll down and look for a bulleted list. Here they are. These are the key words you want to have or themes for different parts of your resume. Administration and management, contracting, procurement, customer service, and problem solving. So those should be on there. Now, also, we talked about the questionnaire. Now, those are going to be keywords that you have to have in your resume. And again, you're going to have to show some kind of example for those too. Okay. Now, the questionnaire. On this one, let's look at the questionnaire. We get to look at the questions. The first part just asks you questions about who you are. Are you a veteran? Do you work for the federal government? Then the second one, preferences, they're going to ask you, what city do you want to work for? Okay, we could put down Lexington or Paducah, whichever one applies. Then let's see. And they're going to say, what is the lowest grade you're willing to accept? Just information about what you want in that type of job. And then we go to the next section is the main one that you're going to have to worry about. Oh, it doesn't have assessment section. So we don't have to worry about any. Oh, here it is, assessment. Okay, you have to have a 4-year degree for this one. If you do, you can go ahead and check it, or you can have 24 hours of the following fields. Okay, whichever one applies for, check it. Okay, and now here's where they just restate everything that's in the qualifications section. You need 1 year of GS9 and apply for, where is it? Here, applying acquisition, contract, and procurement regulations to prepare solicitations contain. Well, you know the deal. That okay? It's just repeating the stuff that you already put in your resume, and that's the case. Check it off. And here you probably say you don't meet the qualifications because you have to have the training involved by the Federal Institute. But that's okay because you're only going to be qualified to go for 11 and 12. So that means you can only make in this job up to $98,000 lowest amount if you go to the second level, which is still pretty good pay. Okay. But that's the questionnaire. So you're going to be able to look at the questionnaire early and check it out. Now, how to apply. It's going to walk you through how to apply. It gives you all the instructions on here. Here is the point of contact on here. Now here they don't give you a telephone number for it. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they give you a person's name. This one doesn't either. It just says DHA questions at it's at the Department of Energy. But if you have a question, that's who you contact on there. And it's got the snail mail address too. So all that information can help you out. Now, this last portion, what we're going to do is take a look at example of a federal resume. Now, I didn't put the whole heading on here because most people know what goes on the heading of their resume. Okay, name, contact information, all that stuff. And they may ask on a federal to add your social security number. If they do, put it in there. If not, don't worry about it. You don't have to have it. Okay. I did write the name of the Federal Resume Guidebook and the person who wrote it. I don't know if your library has copies of it, but ours has 8 in Kenton County, or you could buy it on the internet. It only cost me $12. They've got over 100 examples of federal resumes for different situations. So that I just picked out one. It's sort of a generic example for you. And this one, the person is applying for a claims position. What I really want you to get out of this example is the format. Okay. Dedicated insurance agent with 18 years experience. Okay. He just basically gives a 2-liner of what they do in the job. Okay. What their basic qualifications are. And he highlights he's got 18 years experience as an insurance agent and insurance sales, underwriting, and claims management. Okay. And then now he uses all uppercase and bold for the headings, professional experience. And he starts out not with the company name, but he starts out with the job title first. And it's all in bold. And if you notice to the right, it's the dates that he was there from the company. Now, how does the federal government rate you on this? They rate you by, they multiply the hours per week. If you look underneath the time that you served in that job, they multiply the hours per week, 40 hours per week, times 52 weeks per year, times the amount of years you worked at that job. And that will come out with an experience number for each skill that is listed in there. Now, I know you're probably saying, I didn't use that skill the entire time I was on the job. Don't worry about it because the federal government doesn't worry about it. They give you credit for the whole time you were there. Okay, now let's go on. They have the address, the complete address for the company name, and below it the address. And then they have the supervisor's name and a telephone number. If you notice there, they say, please do not contact. on your first job, it's not going to affect your ability to get that job if you say, please do not contact. So don't worry about it. If you're working out there and you're worried about that your supervisor is going to find out you're looking for a job, right, please do not contact, and then they won't. Excuse me. Okay, then they do something I like. They put in italics, Geico is the second largest insurer in the United States. They talk about the company, say they cover more than 24 million motor vehicles owned by more than 15 million policyholders. Okay, and then he describes what he does in the job. In my role as insurance claim supervisor, oversee 10-member team of field advisors and office-based insurance agents focusing on auto damage claims, while also providing products insuring personal and commercial property. Okay, so it gives a little synopsis of the company, and it's always good to brag about your company or say something nice about your company, because usually people reading it are going to say that person will talk nice about us also. So it puts you in a good frame of mind to start this thing out. Then he lists some of the things that were skills that they asked for. They sort of shortened it a little bit so it's easier to use as a heading on here. So he just said front end supervisor and training. And then he gives a short description: deliver training and support to adjusters in the field to provide excellent claim service, and ensure agents in the field professionally and courteously serve customers coming into the office looking for insurance products. Okay, very generic. Okay, the reason it's very generic is because you list all these skills that they're asking for, the three that they have here: front end supervisor, commercial claims processing, flood insurance, national flood insurance program. And then they use a key accomplishments. Again, they use the STAR system: situation, task, action taken, and results. Developed, implemented, and managed an emergency claims drive program in response to widespread damage from Hurricane Irma in September 2017. My team set up locations to provide immediate payment to repair salvageable vehicles or full value payment for vehicles that were total losses. We also immediately placed customers in rental vehicles. This expedited the response, helped affected customers return to their jobs, and provided transportation when it was badly needed. Okay, you can have as many of these accomplishments as you need. The main thing is, she says, is this a good type format to use? Because one, it's easy for the qualification specialist to find the skills that they're looking for, because she pretty much spells them out. And then she gives the accomplishments and uses covers those skills. So they give the examples. So there's no way, they can drop the ball on that thing. And then they do that for each job that you have. And they will figure out, they'll use a spreadsheet and they'll figure out how many experience points you have. After they figured out that you do qualify for the position, they'll add up all your experience points and they'll weigh it against other candidates that are there. And that's how that's how you can be in a statistical tie, is you're going to come up with a huge number. And that number, if it's within like 500 of the next candidate, you're pretty much in a statistical tie. So they'll have to make some decisions from there. If you have additional skills from the Office of Personnel Management site, that may put you over the top. So there's a couple other things I have. The interviews, most of the interviews for federal government are behavioral type interviews, which are more performance-based interviews, which are scenario driven. They're going to say, tell me a time when you had to deal with an upset client, and how did you handle it? Or a time when you were given a short suspense, or an item that you didn't have, and however you had other items that may qualify, something to do with the job you're applying for. Excuse me. Something in my throat. But that's pretty much the example. Now I sent you, you should have a copy of that. And let me go ahead and I'll close out the share. Now I'm ready for any questions. Okay. Does anybody have any questions at this time, or would you like to read them to me? Or I know we went through it really fast. I'm sorry. I know it was going to be tough.
One of the questions online is, what is the difference between remote and telework?
Okay, remote work means you work from home. Okay, you only have to go in twice, usually to just report to the supervisor per pay period, from what I hear. Telework means usually it's sort of a hybrid that you can do. If you'll notice, it always says telework according to being authorized by the department you're working at. So you may be at home most of the time, but you can be called in the office also. So it's more of a hybrid type thing for the telework. Does that answer the question for you?
Someone else asked, how do you find the Schedule A form?
How do you, what Schedule A form? I'm sorry.
How do you find the Schedule A form?
How do you sign it?
Find it.
Oh, find it. Well, you should have, I sent out a list, a copy of the Schedule A in my handouts, but all you have to do is put Federal Schedule A form example and Google it, and it'll automatically pull one up. And they're very, very short. And they even have a section on it in the on the USA Jobs too, if you want to search that out. If you put it in the search area in the help. Again, that it makes a big difference, because then that puts you in a higher category and also opens up those jobs to direct hiring also for you.
All righty. Well, no questions in the audience.
Are those all the questions we have? I'm surprised. Usually I have a ton of them.
Yeah, a lot of information, Ken. Thank you so much again for presenting to us today about preparing a federal resume. That was a ton of information, and don't miss out if you missed anything or feel like you missed anything. For those who are not in attendance today, I know most people grabbed a packet that has the information, but the link to review that information is actually on the Job Club webpage. It's highlighted in red. If you go to the subject today, for today's presentation, I should say, it's highlighted in red. You just click on there and you'll see all that information that Ken has provided. Thank you again. That was a wonderful, wonderful presentation.
Now, one thing I wanted to add too, if anybody wants to contact me with a question, or with they want me to look at their resume before they submit it or whatever, I'll be glad. I do this for all my clients. I play the qualification specialist and check it out and let them know this is what I would do, you know. So I am available for that.
Thank you, Ken, so much.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, so for anyone who needs some additional help, especially, of course, today's presentation, if you have questions about your regular resume, CV, or cover letters, feel free to reach out to our UK Alumni Career Services. We have Carolyn, who is not in today, Carolyn Francis, and some of her colleagues will be glad to help you with those questions that you have about resumes and cover letters and interviewing. Okay, we'll go ahead to our next slide here. Okay, so who's hiring? I wanted to be sure to give a few seconds for any employers that may be in the audience today. Anyone have any
job lead? You have anything? Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Is there anyone online? Don't want to look over anyone that may be online. If you want to share any job leads, or if you want to leave those in the chat, that is just fine. And we'll be sure to share those leads in our newsletter that is sent out to everyone who attended online and in person today, as well as past attendees. Okay, so, okay, we don't want to, of course, fail to mention our Fayette County Corporate Extension Office here at 1140 Harry Sykes Way. Do want to mention, of course, that we have extension offices in over 20 counties here in Kentucky, so be sure to visit your local office. Alrighty, and UK STEPS. Once again, my name is Nicole Waite. I'm an employment specialist here at the University of Kentucky in the STEPS office. And we'll go ahead and share some job leads with you all today. And again, all the job leads will be shared in the newsletter today, as well as LinkedIn. We do share the information on our LinkedIn, on our Job Club LinkedIn pages also. Okay, so we have an admin support associate. We have 2 medical lab tech positions, staff support associate, a customer access associate, and our SRNA, career program is back in effect. We've been doing that pretty much every, about quarterly, I should say. And so that is open for registration. And I believe the College of Nursing has the same program. And we also have a weekend security worker position. This is only naming a few. There are many, many more, but we just wanted to highlight these positions today. If you have any questions about these positions specifically, feel free to reach out to me. Of course, my information is available in the newsletter also. All righty, and let's see here. We've talked about that. Okay, so next time at Job Club, which will be July the 11th, we'll talk about job search strategies from an HR perspective, presented by Alan Sisk, Human Resource Director of Lexington Housing Authority. Be sure to register at www.ukalumni.net/job club, or of course you can scan that code there and go ahead and register today. Thank you all again for attending Job Club. This was a lot of information. And again, if you want to review that information, if it's too much at once, feel free to go to our webpage, click on the red highlighted highlighted info right there, and all the files will populate for you so that you can review all the information. Thank you all again for attending Job Club, and we can't wait to see you again next time. All righty.